Hi, hello. We're going to be making a little goblin friend. And we're going to be making him using these materials. I'm going to be making him in a darker green. This is a chenille yarn from Ice Yarns. And it takes a 6mm hook. You can use any yarn. Make sure you change your hook size. And for yarns that aren't fluffy, especially, I recommend you go 1/2 hook size smaller than the yarn recommends. Or a full if you have very loose tension, but you'll figure it out. You need the main body color, you need a hook that matches. I recommend using a stitch marker unless you're a god at counting. I'm not. You need scissors, you need a tapestry needle. I don't have mine here right now, I will get that later. You need a collar for accessories. You don't need to give him a loincloth, you can give him different accessories too, but this is the one that we're doing now. You need some stuffing. And some safety eyes, or buttons, or beads, or some scrap yarn that you can embroider eyes with. Doesn't matter, do what you want. We're going to be making all of his parts first, and then we're going to be attaching him together. That's also how I have it on the written pattern that you can find on my website or on my Instagram. It is free, so if you don't like videos, you can just read the pattern and that's fine. The video is for people who get confused with written patterns, especially for his legs. I noticed people got confused there, so that's why we're doing this. You're gonna get your yarn, starting with his head, by the way. This little circle. And make a magic circle. I'm doing it a little bit less formal because the yarn doesn't lend itself to being magic circle pulled easily. I learned to do it with 2 loops, it works with 1. I'm not explaining how you do a single crochet or a magic circle, by the way, though there's plenty of tutorials for that. You do 6 single crochets into your magic circle, so I have 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you close it. There. And this would be the top of his head then. Put your little stitch marker in. For the second row we're doing 6 increases. Just gonna put this in the center, it will hide itself when we stuff him. So you're gonna get to your first stitch, this one, and you're just gonna increase all around. You should have 12 stitches now. 6, 8, 10, 12. And then for your third row you're going to do a single crochet and then an increase, and then you repeat that 6 times. And then you should end up with 18 stitches. there. And then you're going to do 2 single crochets and an increase and repeat that. But because on bigger projects this will create corners, I am used to doing the even numbers of single crochets at a little indent. So that means I'm doing 1 single crochet here, then the increase, then 2, increase, repeat until you have your increase here, and then a single crochet there. This offputs where your increases are in the circle. I will link an explanation for why I do that down in the description. There's someone that explained it way better. This mostly applies to bigger projects, so if it's confusing, it doesn't really impact the shape here that much. There. Now you should have 24 stitches. And now we're going to just do a few rows of single crochets to give him some size. Let me quickly spot how many it was again. 4 rows of single crochets all around. So I'm going to speed that up a little bit. and 4. That adds a little bit of size to him. I apologize, by the way, if you can hear cars driving by. I can't really do anything about that. They don't stop at night, so yeah. There's not really a moment where I could record where there would be no car sounds. So now you continue on to row 9, which is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. I'm using the invisible decrease method, so the one where you go into the front loop only of 2 stitches. Whoa. This is very smooth, like this, and then you pull through both of those and then complete it like a regular single crochet. The basic method where you just pull up a loop through both stitches works fine too. This one just looks a little bit neater, so I'm doing that. So you single crochet 2, and then you do a decrease. I'm not very good at these yet because I only recently learned that they look better. And you just repeat that 6 times. There. Now you're back to having 18 stitches. And if you're using a smaller yarn, I would start thinking about the face right here. So I'm going to show you that. Normally I leave it until the very end because with this thicker yarn, the gap it leaves at the end is big enough for me to fit the eyes through. So you're gonna grab, I'm using the safety eyes. Placement for other eyes would be similar. Or you can mess with the placement if you're doing a fancy expression. Be creative with that, I guess. So I'm using the, I thought this was 7mm, not sure. Just decently big. And you're gonna put them between rows, let me check, rows 7 and 8. So I count the magic circle as a row, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then this is 8 and 9, and you go between there. And you just shove it in and secure that. And then about 5 apart, or a little bit further or closer, depending on the expression you want to give him. And then like right there, so there's some space between for the nose. There. Now you can maybe tell on this little guy that I don't give them mouths, because I don't think they need that. I like that they look silly, but if you want one that's angry, maybe give him eyebrows, or if you're using felt, you could give him a little smile with teeth and stuff like that. Just think of something fun. I'm keeping it simple. You go on to row 10, which is a single crochet and then a decrease. and then repeating that 6 times, and then you end up with 12 stitches at the end. So you just continue where you left off. I'm putting on the nose later, by the way, when he's stuffed, because I put them on in the same yarn that I'm using. And I prefer not pulling from both ends of the yarn to attach a face. And I also prefer not really having to cut off a piece of yarn before I start going. You could do that, but I don't, because I have a cat and she likes to eat yarn. She's not supposed to. Eating yarn is really bad for cats, but she keeps trying. So that's why I don't do things like that. I try to keep everything attached to the skein for as long as possible. There. You do your last decrease of the round. There you go. Now you have 12 stitches, and for the final row of the head we are going to do a single crochet and a decrease again, but to keep the rounding and not make it pointy like we did with the increases, I'm going to switch it around. So I'm going to start with the decrease and then the single crochet, decrease times 4. This doesn't really matter that much, like I said before, but it's good to get into the habit if you also make bigger plushies. There. And the last one. And then you end it on a single crochet or the decrease if you're not moving it. And then you just slip stitch into the next one. You don't have to leave a long tail on the head. I leave the long tail on the body for sewing. I find it easier. If you want to leave it on the head instead and sew the head onto the body instead of the body onto the head, go ahead. There was a lot of heads. You do it however you like and whatever is comfortable for you, what you're used to doing. I'm sure everyone has a personal preference in these things. But here's your little head, and I'm gonna put some stuffing in him. You can wait with doing that, it doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna already stuff him a bit. If you're using thinner yarn, it might be nice to start stuffing him earlier, but I think this gap is big enough, and I find it really annoying to do the last row while there's already stuffing there. So if I don't have to close it up fully, I just won't. That's a head. Squish him a little to be round. He should be like a little flatter ball. It's not entirely round. I'm gonna put him somewhere. Yeah, good enough. Actually, I'm gonna move him to the little bottom corner. Yeah, out of the way. Now we're gonna make the ears. And we're gonna be making 2 of those. I'm gonna pull up my notes. Yeah, the beginning of the ears is a little bit finicky, and I think it can be very annoying. Did I just see a part where the yarn was thin? Oh, it's still later on, that's probably fine. The ear doesn't take that much. It has a part that's a little bit finicky and annoying at the start because you're only working with 4 stitches. So you make your magic circle and then you put in just 4 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And go ahead and tighten that. I love closing magic circles with chenille yarn. It's my favorite thing to do. Yikes. I'm gonna put in the stitch marker here. And what we're gonna do is we're going to just single crochet 4 into this tiny circle. Now, it's gonna be easier if you just count backwards instead of trying to find where the first stitch is. So here you have 1, 2, 3. This one is 4. And you're just gonna work into that. This is a lot more annoying with smaller yarns, and I tried to do different ways to get the shape of the ear, but they just didn't look right, so I'm sorry if you have to do really tiny fiddly bits here. Right, and here we're going to start with an increase. Increase again, not again, stitch in the same thing. I'm keeping track of if I did 1 or 2 stitches in my increase. We have an increase in the first stitch, and then we have a single crochet. Where is it? Here it is. That does not feel correct. Here, single crochet, then you do another increase, and another single, and then you should have 6 stitches. And now we're going to do single crochet increase, repeat that 3 times. The reason why we're switching the place of the increase is for the shape. I have heard feedback from pattern testers that it does indeed change the shape if you just put them as the first stitch or the second both times. So we're alternating. Now we're doing 2 single crochets and an increase, also 3 times, and then we should end up with 12 stitches. We have 9 right now. So I'm going to be moving that again, so I'm going to do 1 single, an increase, two single crochet, increase, two single crochet, increase, and then the single crochet to match up from the first set. There you go. And then we're going to be doing 3 single crochets and an increase, also times 3, and then we should end up with 15 stitches. And there you go. And then we're going to be doing 2 rows of single crochets, so 15 stitches all around. That's once. And that's twice. Got a little shape going on. Now we're going to single crochet 3 and then decrease. I am getting messages, give me a second. Alrighty, I have returned. Sorry about that. Where were we? We were at the decrease, the first part where you decrease in the ears. Yeah. You're gonna do 3 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, 3, decrease, and then you're gonna repeat that another 2 times. And you're gonna have 12 stitches. And now we're going to be doing another 2 rounds of single crochet, so 12 stitches around. That's one. And that's 2. And now finally we're going to just do 6 decreases to close it up. I stuffed the end from the starting the magic circle in there. Besides that, you do not stuff the ears. They fold flat with a little bit of a shape to them. This is mostly because of the closing again, that it gets the shape. And it is a little pointy. This is why we do the 4 single crochets to create this little pointy bit. I'd say it's worth it, because otherwise you get perfectly rounded ears and that's not very goblin-y, I'd say. There you go. Oh. And then you just slip stitch into the next stitch. And leave a little tail for sewing. I always leave them way too long. Doesn't really matter. Fabric, no. Hate those. So you got your little ear. And then you just make a second one. Alrighty, and there you have 2 ears. This one's a little pointier because I actually got the stitches better. It's fuzzy yarn, it's hard to see, it's fiddly and tiny. Don't worry about it. Both look fine. So then you have 2 ears with ends to sew them to the head later. And then we're going to make his little arms. Now his arms start out small and fiddly too, but they aren't as bad. You're gonna start in a magic circle. All of these parts start with a magic circle except his pants. You start in a magic circle, you do 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you go. And then you close the circle. And then you increase 4 times. I just yeeted my stitch marker across the table. This is why I don't have my darning needle with me yet, because I randomly just flick them across the table. And the cat really likes the darning needle too. We don't want her to eat a big ass needle. 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches in here, increase in all of them. So you're gonna end up with 8 stitches around. There you go, 8 stitches. And then you're just going to single crochet around those 8 stitches for 5 rows. And then you have an arm. It really is that simple. This one. Leave a little end for sewing. Don't need that much. I always overdo it. There you go. And just like the ears, besides shoving this little end in there, I don't stuff the arms. Because I like that they can be round and flat. If you want them to stay round and be firm, stuff them, but you don't need to. So you're gonna just make another one of those, same way. There you go, 2 arms. I'm gonna start with the legs. So, I'm playing a bit of yarn chicken here, if you can tell. I hope it's going to last, otherwise I'm gonna have to run upstairs really quick. We're gonna start with the legs. The legs are basically the same as the arms, except we start with 5 in the magic circle. And it's only 4 rows instead of 5. So you get your magic circle and you put in 5 single crochet. 2, 3, 4, 5. You close that up. I can hear that someone upstairs is not winning their game. Oh, the circle. Ah, the circle. Get. I'm gonna restart it real quick. That's not good for my yarn chicken. Hippity-pippity. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Close that up. Yes, lovely. Sorry, that was loud. I have been fighting with this yarn all day. And then you just do 5 increases. So you end up with 10 stitches. If the stitch marker wants to enter. Okay. This. 5. This one. There you go, and then you just do 4 rows of singles. There you go, 4 rows. There, I just leave a little tail here. Again, way too much, probably. We don't slip stitch this, because that's gonna make it harder for the next steps. just gonna shove this little end in the leg. This will be stuffed. Yeah, but this is, here, his little leggy. Yeah. I exposed him. Oops. In frame, leggy. I'm gonna grab some more because this is not enough. Right, so we have our one leg. I'm gonna move that. We need to make a second. Ooh, it's windy. Okay, need to make a second leg. I am distracted easily. I'm kind of sleepy. But if I, while easily distracted and kind of sleepy, can make this goblin, so can you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets into the magic circle, and then we close it up, please. Yes, okay, this is the final magic circle we have to do for today. Unless you make multiple, then you need to do many more. Put in your little stitch marker. You do 5 increases. Here. Oh, I need to not have that. I'm a dumbass. Oh my god, I just said I was sleepy. Can you tell? Okay. Okay, that was really silly. The working end. Wow. Did our bin just fall over? Damn. It's so windy that our green bin fell over outside. Thankfully they emptied that yesterday. Otherwise that would be really gross. Anyway, 5 increases with the working yarn. Like that. I'm gonna put this down. Okay. Now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pull this long so it doesn't unravel. And I'm gonna put in this little end here. Now we have 2 legs. One is attached and one is not. For the one that's not attached, you're going to grab your darning needle And you're gonna thread it. And now we're going to line this up. This is where we will continue stitching. So this, the stitch right after that, is where we want to start sewing. So you line that up with where your yarn is on your little needle. You're gonna go through here and then into the stitch after your working yarn. And then I go over like this, but you can also enter here. You can just sew it up however you want. You won't see it, it's inside. And you do that for 4 or 5 stitches, depending on how long you, how much butt you want your thing to have. I do like this. It's 4, we check. We're doing 4. Now you tie it off. If you want him to have less butt, you do 5. And you just shove that in one of his leggies, so it's hidden. And you put your stitch marker back in here. And now we're going to ignore the middle. We're just going to work around like this. And we should end up with 16 stitches. If you don't, and you're only having 15, add 1 back here. If you're only having 14 stitches, add 1 on either hip. If you have 16 stitches when you work around, you did perfect, don't worry about it. There's just like, it depends on how you sew and where you begin and all that kind of jazz. There's a lot of room for error, but at the end it doesn't really matter because he's gonna have a butt anyway. He's gonna have a very flat butt, but it is a butt. So I'm going to look here and I'm going to say this is the first stitch. I'm going to see, no it isn't. I'm going to go in here. So he doesn't have that little gap. Yeah, now he doesn't have a gap. See? Wonderful, and then you just go around. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the right track. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. See, there I fucked up. Sorry for the language. So we're going to go back for a second. When we had 8, and we're going to put one right in between here. Right in between here. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, that's gonna be alright. There. Do you see how you could end up with 15 if you forget to put one here, and you could end up with 14 if you don't do that one, and then you also don't have the in between here. But we are all good. He has legs that are attached now. So we count this as row 7 because both of the legs had a total of 6 rows. We had the magic circle, the increase, and then 4 rows of singles. So this is round 7 on the written pattern. And then until round 11 we're just going to do rows of single crochets. In the written pattern I wrote down that you can do either 4 rows or 6 rows, or I guess 5 if you wanted to. With 6 rows you get a little bit of a taller boy. He's a little taller, and some people like that because you have more room to dress him up. If you're going to do 6 rows, you might want to do 5 rows for the legs too. If you want him to have longer legs, you can mess around with that a little bit, because it's just rows of single crochets, nothing else changes. Some people expressed that they liked him taller for dressing him up or looking more intimidating. I don't think he looks intimidating at all. I don't think he knows how to, but just decide if you want to do that. I'm gonna do 4 rows from here because I want him to be short and fat and little, and that's how you achieve that look. So this is going to be the first one. And 4. Right, here you can kind of see how tall he's going to be. See, this lines up with, yeah. I think this one was 5 rows. This is the one I freehanded at first. I've made like 5 others by now. And they're all slightly different because I add around the legs or I add around the body, so they're different heights because it's a little army. This guy is just gonna be short. It's really just a preference. I like them when they're short. They look silly and small. So now we're going to be stuffing the legs because that's hard to get to when you decreased. And you do want his legs to be firm, so otherwise he can't stand. He's not really good at standing up by himself anyway, but it's for the mental image, right? You stuff his legs. And then a little bit in his body already. I stuff his body more after I decrease his neck because I don't like working really close to the stuffing. Working with a really small yarn where you can't do that as easily, stuff him firmly. Now we're just going to be doing 8 decreases because we have 16 stitches, and then we end up with 8 around after that, and then it matches up with the head, which makes it easy to attach. So just do those decreases. And there you go. And then we slip stitch and pull a longer tail to sew his head on. So now we have all of our parts. So I'm gonna put these safely away. Move the scissors. I'm gonna put some more stuffing in him. Right, more stuffing, sorry. I feel like if I continued here in white, he would look like a leek. Is that what it's called? Vegetable? I don't know why I wanted to say that and then also not remember the word. That's silly. I might make one. Okay. There, that's firm enough. Alright, so you got him, his body, and his head. I'm gonna push this little strand into his head because we're not going to use it. Nice and hidden. I'm gonna thread my darning needle. And we're going to put this together. Now, you need to be mindful of where you put your eyes. I like having my knot at the end be in the back. So I'm gonna hold him together so his eyes are centered. Like this. I'm gonna grab him firmly. I'm just gonna do the first stitch. There you go. Now you can hold them less firm because the stitches line up. Oh, sorry for wobbling you there. I'm not used to this tripod being here or sitting at the table neatly. I am a couch gremlin. There. Now for his little neck, we already decreased it so he has a semblance of a neck. There's not really a neck because we don't have extra rows of stitches. But I like to pull this sewing here a little bit tighter than I usually would to dent it a little bit more. And this is because we're also attaching his arms in here, and then it might kind of remove the definition of his neck otherwise. So you just pull it a little bit tight, and now he's a little wobbly flobbly, but that's going to be stabilized by his arms. You kind of tie this, lots of yarn fuzzies. Tie this in the back, and do it double because security, and we don't want his head to fall off. That would not be nice for him. Got it there, and then you just kind of hide that in him. There, pull that tight, cut that end off. You get what I mean with I always have too long of an end for this. But it's better to have it too long than too short, because that is a pain to attach. We're going to do his ears now, or first his nose. First his nose, actually. You're gonna grab a little piece of scrap yarn. I'm using this failed magic circle. It can be easier to attach this before stuffing him. I like that I can already see how it's going to be shaped. One in between his eyes, kind of get symmetrical. You can do it with 3 stitches overlapping, 3, yeah? Or if you placed your eyes less far apart, you can do 2. Just give him a little nose. You go in, you leave this little tail so you can hide it later. Go back. Do at least like 3 goes. His nose is stuck between his legs to really define a little layer. Some alternative things you can do for his face are you can give him like little eyelids, make him look sleepy. You could give him little eyebrows. Put the little eyelids on the underside to, like on both sides, make him look extra sleepy. Can I kind of show you that like this? Also makes him look a little creepy, in my opinion. That can be what you're going for. You can do his nose in a different color. Make him a little clown, maybe. I also think he would look really cute if you have some white felt and you put that between your safety eye and the face. And then you make that, use that to make it look like he's cross-eyed. I think that would be cute as well. No, this is doing the pushing the fuzzies away thing. Can I fix that? If you're making him with anything other than chenille yarn, you might think it's chenille yarn is really nice because it works up fast, it looks big, it's soft, but as you can see here, it's kind of a pain to work with. So you really just gotta you gotta deal with problems with every yarn. I'm just gonna pull it with a hook. There you go. Get in there. And then we pull out some stuffing. I love that. Cut this. Cut that. Including a little bit of stuffing that we're now going to push back in. Get back in there. His brains are falling out. There, you're gonna swoop off the little fuzzy. Now he has a little nose. Well, a big nose. This one's lower, but he has a nose. Gonna put on his ears. We have 2 of them. We're going to thread that end that we left. And we're going to close this up. And there you go. And then we're going to flip over our little guy and kind of align this. You can put them downwards or sideways or even up if you want to make him look more like a bunny, I guess. I think if you put them down more, he looks sad. So I put him like sideways about here. Lines up just barely besides his butt crack, around the middle of the head, and then you attach it like so. If you want to make sure they're symmetrical, you could pin both of them in place. I have made like, well, this is number 7 of these, so I feel like I've got the placement down all right-ish, and it's fine, you know. Humans aren't perfectly symmetrical. I like to go over a second time to make sure he's secure. He's got to be floppy, but he's got to stay attached. Get a little sideways here. There you go. And we're gonna tie this off too. And hide that. And my needle is stuck. Oh, all of the yarn fuzzies. I love this yarn. Okay. Move that away. Hope the cat doesn't get zoomies and try to eat it. So then this is attached, but it can still flop open a little bit. Right? And then you just see how that looks? He's got a little ear. Now you see what I mean. If you put them down more, he would look a little sad. So this is perfect. Cut that off. Take the little yarn fuzzy. And we're gonna do the same to the other one. And there. That's sewn closed. And we line this up about here. And then we get him. And we go back up for the extra security. Don't want him to fall apart. There you go. And then you tie a double knot. Whoa. And you hide this right through his little noggin. Oh! That was a little bit violent. I'm sorry. It worked out perfectly though. This not so much. Please let go. Don't. Oh, it's gonna do it again. There. Fuzzies. Awesome. Alright. Moving on. Hi, I recharged the camera. It died while I was attaching the arms. I can't take them off now. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna make a whole nother goblin just to show you how to put on arms. You sew up the arm so it's flat, and then you insert it in his little neck dent, and you just zigzag it like you did with the ears. You're smart people, you will figure it out. I'm sorry. The phone I use for recording doesn't make a noise when it dies, and it was plugged in, but it wasn't properly plugged in. I hate this. Anyway, he's done, and he looks like his little buddy, and we're gonna dress him up. Now, if you want to leave him naked, what you could do is you could sew a little belly button on him. That is cute. I'm gonna show you how to make the loincloth, because that's what I dressed them up in. You could also make him other accessories. A skull necklace. Give him earrings. I don't know. So you're gonna start with your color that you want to make the things out of, and you're gonna leave a long strand at the start, because you're gonna use that to tie it in the back. Make a little loopy. And you chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you half double crochet 4. So you skip the first from the hook. And there you go. And then you chain 1, turn your work, half double crochet 4. And what I like to do is I like to add this extra half double here, so it creates a little point. And then instead of chaining 1, you're just skipping the stitch. So you half double back into the 4. Creates a little shape. See? And you just keep going till you're back at the top. And then you tie that off. Cut that. There you go, that's a little thing. To cover him, you hold it kind of centered and you hope your yarn fuzzies stay on the yarn. Hold it centered, you flip him around and you tie it. I tie this pretty tightly. So you cinch his waist really, and give him some extra butt. You know, treat it like you do with aprons. If you've ever been a barista, you've seen the meme where they suddenly have an hourglass figure that you get these little ends and you kind of just press them through his body to hide that it's tied. If you're using acrylic, you can leave a little bow tie. But because this is fuzzy yarn, that will raffle and and break apart and start looking ugly. So we're not doing that. But with acrylic or cotton, you could make him have a little bow tie in the back if you want. You can also use this technique with those. There you go. This is hidden. He has cover in the front. Cut that. And there. You remove it. Get his little fuzzies. And now he is no longer naked and he has friends. I hope this was helpful. I'm very sorry about the arm sewing being cut off. I've tried to record this 4 different times, so I am not doing it again. Feel free to ask me any questions in the comments. I will get to you as quickly as possible. The pattern is available for free on my Instagram and on my website. I have more free patterns on my website. If there is a free pattern that's already on my website that you want a video tutorial for, please let me know. I will try my best. If you have any advice on how I can make a video like this more clear, more easy to follow, better for you, do let me know. This is the first time I have done this. I hope you have fun with your little goblins. Tag me on Instagram or TikTok if you make them. I'm not very active on TikTok, but I can be tagged. Yeah, thank you. I hope you enjoy your little guys.